welcome in to Wellness Wednesday. It's Kari here, and hadn't been with you for Wellness Wednesday in a little bit, but I'm excited to dive into a certain question I got and a topic today. Sometimes these are topical, sometimes they're just Q&A based, but today we got a topic. So this might be a new topic. It might be something you've heard of before. Maybe you know a little, maybe you know zero, maybe you know a lot. But we're going to be talking about something called biofilm today. And this got brought up by actually one of the clients that I have, and she's been actually passing a lot of biofilms. And so she's like, I just need to know more about this. So that's kind of what we're going to dive into today. Hello, that you guys that are hopping in. Ooh, about lost my phone there. Hey, Jody. If you have any specific questions or comments, please put them underneath here and I'll try to answer as we go. But I'm excited to just share a little bit more about this today because I feel like it's sort of one of those topics that you hear about, but you don't really know what it is and how it fits in with everything. So again, this got brought up by a current client who's actually going through disrupting some of these biofilms and going through a deeper detox protocol. And this really is, to me, sort of part of deeper detox. And so maybe, hopefully, when I get done, you can sort of understand how this fits in with everything. Awesome. Glad to know this is good timing for you, Jody. Okay, so first off, what is biofilm? So biofilm is actually, it's kind of like a digestive plaque that occurs when there's like an overgrowth of pathogens or bugs, as we call them. And so we have that biofilm there because they actually use it to hide in the body. And by hide, I mean, you know, if there was no biofilm, if there was none of these protective sacs, let's call them, that these pathogens have, our immune system could identify them, kill them off, and get rid of them. But they don't want that to happen. So it's a way that the things that are overgrown in our body and are there, it's a way for them to hide. And so it's interesting, though, whenever we have these biofilms, our immune system knows that they're there, but they can't do anything about them. So this is actually a reason why a lot of people have autoimmune type issues. And it's like our immune system is on high alert, yet it can't really do its job, if that makes sense. And so again, going back to biofilm, it is this protective film that these pathogens use as a shield for our immune system and for our white blood cells. And so if you were to think about it as a protective film, yes, but it's like a sticky sludge type of substance. I know that's just a lovely word to use, but that's really the best description that I have for you of biofilm. It's just kind of this sludge type of material that is made up of a lot of different things like polysaccharides and proteins and even DNA that provides this nice little protective shell for these pathogens to stay in. That is what biofilm is. And so you know, you think about what's hiding in there. It could be things like parasites. If you have parasites, you have biofilm because that's the way that they're hiding in your body. Also, when you think about having parasites within a biofilm, you could also have things like mold or mycotoxins. You could have different overgrown bacteria that maybe are consistent with something like Lyme disease, viruses. All of these things kind of like to cohabitate. They kind of like to stay together because they're all trying to hide out. And so it kind of makes sense that they would sort of stay together in these little protective sacs. And so that's really in essence what a biofilm is and why we have them. So again, if you have some of these things that I've mentioned, you can rest assured that you have biofilm because that's the way that they're surviving in your body. And so it's actually estimated that 65% of microbial infections are from biofilm, and then 80% of chronic infections are from biofilm. Again, because they can hide out in the body and your immune system knows that they're there, but they can't do anything about it. And so obviously we know that we need to address these biofilms. And honestly, if you think about all the things that can hide in there, heavy metals could also be in there as well. Most of us have at least a little bit of one of these things, right? If you think about all the things that could hide out in there. So I would say that the majority of the population has biofilm that is hiding something in their body. I feel like that's a pretty good estimation and assumption, I guess. And so now you think, okay, well, if everybody pretty much has these in some way, shape, or form, how do we get rid of them? And obviously you would know why. You need to get rid of the things that are in there. So you want to get rid and try to break down the biofilm. And so, of course, just like anything else, there is a process to that. Because if you know you have some of these issues that I say hide in biofilms, to properly get rid of them, you have to break open that protective sac, which then of course releases all those things to get out of your body. So really, if you think about addressing them, the first thing that you would want to make sure of is that they can properly exit your body. And I actually just made a couple of posts and have been talking about how important it is to work on your drainage funnel. And what I mean by that is it's the exit pathway that these things have. Not only these things, but everything, right? We all have waste that our body, from processing foods and different just daily processes that our body goes through that need to get out. So that's why our drainage funnel really always needs to be something that we're considering to make sure that it's functioning properly, or else we're going to have backup and waste that can't get out. So it would only make sense that has to be open before you even think about breaking up some of these protective sacs and getting them out, which is really the first part of deeper detox once your drainage pathways are open. And so there are various ways that you can go about breaking down biofilm. There's definitely different supplements that you can take. There are even different oils that you can use to help facilitate this process. But again, they have to have a way to get out. And I'm probably just going to make a post on this just so it has a place to live. But there definitely is another thing that you want to add in there when you're thinking about breaking up these biofilms and all the things that are being released, and that is taking a binder. And what a binder does is, of course, it just absorbs a lot of these things that are released, toxins and different bacteria and different things like that, viruses, and it just helps it to get out of the body. In a good way, right? Because if it doesn't get out of the body, it's just going to recirculate. And that's why you see a lot of people that maybe do different types of cleanses that don't feel very good during or after. And that's because what they've been doing has been working in the fact of maybe it's stirring up things and killing them off. However, if it can't get out, whatever that might be, then that's not good, right? We don't want to recirculate things. We want to kill them off and get them out. And so that's why it's so important that our drainage pathways are open, especially if you think about the colon. A lot of stuff obviously comes out through your bowels. And so if they're not moving, then that's going to be step number one that you want to do as far as addressing these things. And so that's sort of the overview of biofilm and why a lot of us have it and what role it's playing. There were a few signs and symptoms that I just wanted to share also. And please let me know if you have any specific questions about this topic while we're on live here, or if you're watching the recording, you can always comment below also afterwards. But signs and symptoms of just strictly biofilm. Now, of course, there's a lot of other signs and symptoms for the things that can hide in biofilm, but just for biofilm itself, fatigue is a really big one because, again, you have to think about your immune system is realizing these things are there. However, it can't do its job. So it's just kind of on high alert always and almost on overdrive. And if it can't do its job, it's just, it kind of wears out over time. And that can really cause a lot of fatigue and obviously a lot of other issues. But autoimmune, I already mentioned that, autoimmune issues, because again, your immune system is on high alert. And so if it can't do its job, that's just kind of, it gets burnt out over time. Mast cell type of issues can a lot of times come from having biofilm. Odd neurological issues are one that you might not have thought of, like ringing in ears, even vertigo, those types of things, twitching even. There's just a lot of different neurological type symptoms that could fit in that category, but that's one big one that sometimes nobody knows what's going on, right? You've done all the tests, but you don't really know what's going on. It could be something along these type of issues. Insomnia is another one, because a lot of detoxification processes happen overnight. walk them through. So a lot of the detoxification processes happen at night. A lot of, especially like parasites, sometimes they're more active at night. And so that's just something that can keep you up. And maybe you're going to sleep, but you're waking up. Could be something along these lines of your body realizing it's there, but not being able to do anything about it. And so, again, that's sort of what they are. How a few symptom signs that you might, okay, this is clicking for me. I just wanted to share some of those. And I am going to share a list of biofilm busters, biofilm, the process that you can start to break some of these things up. I'm going to share some of my favorite ways to do that. They might be from various places. However, I like that there are a lot of different options that you can use to start breaking these biofilms up and getting them out. But again, I cannot stress enough how important it is to make sure that your drainage funnel is open, your pathways are open so that these things can get out. And so typically what you want to do before you start any of these things that I'll share with you as far as to start breaking up some of these biofilms is you want to do at least 1 month of making sure that everything's functioning properly and whatnot. But typically when I'm working with clients one-on-one, we spend at least 2 months working on some of these things, because I certainly want to make sure that's in place before we go into these deeper detox protocols and such. And so it kind of just depends on, everybody's different, but that's really how you can get some bad side effects if you start doing this too soon and your body's just not ready to handle the deeper detox, or the pathways aren't open. So that's just what I have to share with you today. Again, I'm going to work on some more resources for you in the way of this, but I really wanted to keep this video just about what they are and why you want to think about starting the process of getting ready to address some of these things. And this is really how you start addressing all the things that I mentioned that can hide in biofilms: parasites, mold, Lyme disease, viruses, heavy metals, anything like that. You have to start with this first, because if you think about all those things living in there, you want to make sure that this is addressed before you start addressing any of that. And oftentimes this is a step that's skipped, and you just go right into killing those things. However, you're not going to kill off all of them if they're not all released, if they're still in these different sacs. And sometimes it can take a while to work through this process. And how do you know? That's another good question. How do you know when, if what you're doing is working? A lot of times you will see these biofilms in your stool. I've heard them described oftentimes as just slimy. I know this is not, this is maybe TMI. I don't know. There's nothing TMI for me. So if it is for you, sorry. But a lot of times it just looks like and it feels sort of slimy. You can also see almost, I have to show you pictures. I think it's hard to explain, but you can see sort of what looks like, what's a good way to describe it? It's just sort of a thin layer, just kind of like you would think of a sack that's clear. It looks like a thin layer of something that should not be in your stool normally, or that's not normally there. I'll have to show you pictures of some. So that you can know what they look like. I think that's really important to kind of know what you're looking for if you really want to see, okay, if you're working on this and you want to see if it's what you're doing is working, you kind of have to make sure you look to see what's coming out. I know that's might be way too, maybe you're not there yet, but some people are. So I'm going to work on some resources for you guys to do this, more of a DIY style, but these are the things that I do work with one-on-one with clients. So if this is yes, I'm going to need my hand-holding with this, then you might want to consider working with someone that helps walk you through this process. But anyway, that's what I have for you today. I'm going to share some more resources in my stories, just for some good things that can help break up some of these biofilms in general. But I am going to try to work on getting a post together, and maybe even a blog post to help some of these resources live on as you get ready, because I know some of you might not be ready for this yet. But go back and look at my drainage funnel post and start trying to identify where you might need to work more on your drainage pathways to make sure they're open so that you can start the process of breaking up some of these biofilms. So, wanted to mention also, one thing that is extremely helpful to start breaking up biofilms is our coffee enemas. And this is so crazy, but one of my most popular YouTube videos is actually on how to do a coffee enema. I think people are either wanting to do them and looking back at the directions, or they're just really interested that somebody would stick coffee up there. Isn't that hilarious? But anyway, I'm going to be thinking about how I can provide more information around that, because it seems really intimidating, but it's not, I promise. So let me know what questions you have about that. If you've ever thought about doing one, that's actually a really great way to help stimulate some of these drainage pathways. Can you address different drainage areas at the same time? Yes. I would say the majority of people probably do. I know I personally do. I direct clients to kind of, well, if it's a DIY approach, of course, I'm telling them to go look and see, almost like a self-inventory and see the areas that they need to work on. But if I am working with somebody one-on-one, I'm giving them directions of, this is what I see via the blood work, or even hair tests. Minerals play a really big part in your body's ability to detox. And so all of those things that we're working on are actually helping this drainage funnel to work better. But if you're just looking at the list, yes, you can definitely approach different areas of drainage at the same time. And I think that's very, very common. So thank you for your questions. Thank you for showing up. I just love diving into these interesting conversations that maybe we don't always have, but I feel like these are the things that are oftentimes the culprit of us feeling not ourselves. There are these unexplained symptoms. It's just something that's not often talked about either. And so I'm interested in this. I think it's so fascinating, and I think it's something that I want to talk about more. So, oh yeah, Renee said you love how you feel after doing a coffee enema. It's strange at first, but the benefits are so great. I completely agree. So if you've been thinking about maybe trying one of those, try just a plain water enema at first. Those are really, really easy to do, really a great way to kind of dip your toe in. But maybe next Wednesday, I'll just do one completely on coffee enemas. Does that sound like a good idea? If it is, give me a heart or thumbs up, or let me know, because of course I want to give you information that you guys want. So ask me questions, let me know what I can help with. But as of right now, I think I'll plan on doing that, because I think it is a really great thing to talk about and just try to help people realize it's not as bad as you might think. So let me know what your questions are about that, and I'll try to answer those then. But thank you for being here. I love having these conversations, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See you guys.